Hello everyone, this is Henry from Turner Miniatures. Today I'd like to show the Blender files for Battleground 1983. I kind of get the feeling that a lot of people don't really understand what the Blender files are, or what they're for, how they're useful. And while I know that many people who might know my previous work may by now be familiar with how the Napoleonic and other sort of Black Powder periods files work, I wanted to show this updated Blender file for Battleground 1983 because I think it's quite different. But some disclaimers I have to put out first. This is an unscripted video. I keep making these. It's a bit of a mistake. Would be better if I had a bit of a script, wouldn't it? But sorry. And perhaps more importantly, this is not the final product. This is sort of my developer side of things. The file that customers will get will have pretty much the same file structure, but will hopefully be a little less rough around the edges. So if anything funny happens, that's what I'm blaming it on. In front of us here, we have an unlucky chap who appears to have parted ways with his torso. Do not worry, we will rectify that soon enough. But if I go to the overview on the right here, you can see where I'm highlighting it. We have a whole lot of legs. And this is what the Blender files do. They cut a figure up into different parts of it. A bit like what Hero Forge does, you know, like online when you can choose from things. We've got these folders, so these are all different leg poses, and then in the subfolders we've got things we can toggle. So right now this is an American set of legs, but if I decide I like my hairy, knobbly knees a bit more, I can make them British. Difference here on the lower tunic is the Americans have an open one, British have a closed one. But more importantly, we can change the American webbing for British webbing. There you go. And if you wanted to toggle individual bits, you could select them here by expanding this folder, or you can just click them on the screen. But yeah, let's keep them American for now, because I think that's what I've got the other bits toggled to. So these were walking legs. I might regret doing this because some of these are still a bit work in progress, but we've got other walking poses. They're walking rotated left, walking rotated right, which is missing its webbing. Sorry, I will fix that. A mirrored version of the other walking pose, standing firing. Oh, this is British. Stooped firing. I've got a lot of firing poses, leaning, sort of standard straight firing too. Running, a bit sprightly that one, isn't it? I think running 3 looks a bit more radical. Yes. So yeah, lots and lots of legs to choose from. I'm going to keep it boring and vanilla and keep it on walking while we go through the other options. Next up below that, we've got our rifleman pose list, and under that we have torso types. Sorry, I've minimized that to make it easy to look at. We've got upright poses, which means like a straight torso with a straight back, stoop back poses, and there's one hunchback pose that I haven't finished yet. That's like a really like ducking for my life, you know. But if we turn on the rifleman poses, that's given us our heads. Now among the heads, this one is 25 degrees, but if we want to look straight ahead, we have a default one. We have 30 degrees. Looking up, sorry, this one is for manpad users. By the way, you could just click it and hold shift and box drag and press R for rotate, Z, the Z key, to lock it to the Z axis, and you can rotate stuff around. Exorcist right there. Oh, I shouldn't have too much fun with this, should I? Let's go back to the default head, because this is a boring vanilla man we're doing first. Yeah, heads. Next up, we've got the upright poses already enabled. Under upright poses, you'll find the different torso parts. So at the moment, he's wearing a PASGT vest, which is this thing, this untextured, ugly, flat block. It's ugly because it's body armor. For some reason, he's got a British belt under that. Where's the British belt coming from? I'm not sure. I'm going to hide that. Sorry. I will fix that later. You hide things by clicking them and pressing the H key. If in doubt, you find some bit that shouldn't be there and you can't figure out what folder it's under, you do what I just did. Likewise, actually, he's got British upward webbing. One of the torso poses, I must have British upper webbing enabled somewhere. Sorry, I said rough around the edges. Oh, there it is. Sorry. He has his British webbing on here, Alice webbing there. It's promising when the creator doesn't even know his own bloody files, right? Anyway, let's turn on our upright pose list, which will get us to actually look at some poses. Woo! So this is an M249 saw, as you can probably see. Which M249 pose is that? That's the yeah, it's under, it's near the, it's this one. There we go. That should say, if I go there, running / kneeling with LMG. You can use this for both walking, running, or kneeling legs. He's got his British torso on though, British lower torso. I've left that on the legs. Not the most important of details. I'm sure the Americans could zip up their torsos too. Tunics, sorry, not their torsos. Anyway, yeah, so that's one pose, but if I deselect that one, let's go for another one. Advancing weapon held high. This is a FAL, L181 SLR. We can toggle that off, switch it out for an M16. And that's basically how the files work. You're sort of building, blocking different poses around. You can swap between things. We're going to have stretch goals to add some extra weapons. For example, the Sterling submachine gun for the Brits. So it might be more than just a binary choice between M16 and L1A1. On some of the poses, I'll be adding M203s. That's still on my to-do list. At the time of recording, I've got about a month and a half to get everything finished, so not too big a rush yet. But here is one M203 pose. Obviously looks a bit silly with the walking legs, but we can fix that by... Where's his head? We can switch that for a 30 degrees looking up, maybe. And then standing firing 2 is always an adaptable one. Yeah, so that's the upright poses. Again, notice he has a straight back. We can say it's the most vanilla of vanilla sort of pose types, but beyond that we also have, it's here, stooped back poses, which, because they're leaning forward, have their own set of heads. Where are those heads? Here we go. Heads for upright torso. To untoggle that. Stooping poses. There we go. Now he's in position. This guy is looking very British. Let's do a Brit, actually. For the differences between the British and the American figures, actually, they share trousers, but the British have curvier pockets here, where the American ones have a pointed end. Their collar is showing because they're not wearing body armor. However, the Americans can be exported wearing tunics instead of PASGT. Technically, if you want to get a bit strict about things, you might have reservations about, depending on when exactly you think games like Team Yankee are set, on whether the Americans would be wearing body armor. But one would think that the guys out in the Fulda Gap would be the first to be issued with the new kit, right? So I don't know. The default STLs have PASGT armor because I just want to emulate the standards set by the Team Yankee miniatures. They are wearing PASGT as far as I know. But you have the option to export them in tunics. Anyway, yeah. So he's got his British webbing on. Let's give him that same webbing on his legs. British tunic. And British webbing. There we go. So now we have a fully British figure. The SLR looks a bit chunky, doesn't it? That's because these miniatures are designed to be exported both in 15mm and 10mm. Now, as they are default scaled in the Blender file, they're 10mm. If you want to export these at 15mm, you have to export them at 1.5 scaling. There's an option on the export screen for that. He's got his 10mm SLR toggled on. I can toggle it off, and then it looks a bit better. The reason for the difference is just that at 10mm, these gun barrels are a little too thin. If I remember rightly, this one is 0.4mm thick. Test prints are all fine. That's the same thickness that I used on the Warsaw Pack figures, but it is, well, I mean, because it won't be 0.4, it's a 15mm, it will be 0.6, because it's scaled up 1.5. Anyway, I'm rambling, but yeah, that's the basics of it. Let's try another stoop pose. You can see they have a stoop back there. Oh my gosh, he has some kind of horrifying M16 SLR hybrid. Let's toggle that off. Now he has an M16. If you want to do SAS, I don't know, give him M16s with a beret. Beret is among the stretch goals. But yeah, let's keep him British. We would need a firing head for that. Heads, yep, sorry, they're here. Firing head. Aiming head it's called, sorry. Aiming head. There you go. So, he's saying, are you like, you feeling lucky, pal? Again, I have too much fun. I suppose that's shown the workings quite nicely. If you're still with me 10 minutes in, well, good on you. The last thing I'll show off is just some of the different weapons, I suppose. So, stoop back means he's carrying something heavy. Let's give him an AT launcher of some kind. Now, as I've shown before, in some cases you have binary choices between weapon types, like you can switch in the subfolder for a pose between the M16 or the SLR. But some of these are poses unique to a given weapon, because, for example, this small has a completely different sort of hand and arm play. Oh my gosh, what is happening here? I'm going to check and fix that. I'm very sorry. Unpolished file. Let's go to the recoilless rifle. He is British after all. There we go. Recoilless rifle looks correct, doesn't it? So we have different poses for some of the different heavy weapons. I think the most amusing looking British weapon has to be the blowpipe. Look at that. He's compensating for something, isn't he? And of course, under the upright poses, stoop back is just for like, he's lugging it over his shoulder. You could make like a walking pose with that. Under upright poses, you've got a firing blowpipe, I think. No, blowpipe. Firing blowpipe, there it is, yeah. With which you'll want to change heads again. Heads for upright poses. Yeah, there we go, the looking up pose with a British helmet. You might be wondering about all this junk on the helmet. You've got a leaves toggle here. Toggle the leaves off. Just leave the strips. And if you want to get rid of this, you can just click it and press H. And underneath you got textured netting and a bit of an ugly looking set of webbing. But you're not just locked into my predetermined camouflage or whatever. In fact, you could, if you have the know-how, you could rotate these a bit, move them around. One tip, if you press tab and then press L while your mouse is over a bit, you'll select all connected bits, L for link, and you can move parts individually, even if they are part of the same object. And yeah, I guess that's it. The last thing I'll just say is pose counts, and try show why these Blender files are quite interesting, I hope. By default, both Britain and the UK will export, at the moment in this stage of the project I've exported about 76 poses each, but they still have mortars and ATGM poses to be made. So it will probably be about 90 poses per faction. But if you look at how many poses we have here, let's go to the upright. So we've got walking with rifle, weapon brace, advancing weapon held high, weapon held low, standing weapon held across chest, weapon held low, reloading, reloading 2, charging rifle 1, charging rifle 2, using binoculars, looking, hands over eyes, firing M203, throwing grenade, firing small, firing all the various heavy weapons there. And then we've got some sort of command poses like beckoning, pointing, fist in the air, using walkie-talkie. Not sure that one will be in the final product, by the way. I need to see how much strain it is to actually model the different walkie-talkies, but that was an idea I had. This is the disadvantage of showing the developer side. It might set up expectations. I mean, you can let me know in the comments if you consider this one sort of critical, but I have no idea what the walkie-talkies would look like at this time, and I found it quite hard to find images of them. But anyway, rambling again. Signaling and 3 LMG poses here. This guy hasn't got a gun. Oh yes, he does. It's a GPMG. Sorry. But okay, I will need to add an M249 to that. He should have an M249 as an option as well. Anyway, you've got so many poses here. Now imagine how many possibilities there are for unique poses when you think about all the head poses, plus look how many bloomin' legs there are. So the point is, although I'm already offering you 90 poses per faction, thereabouts, if you are going to have more than 90 figures in your army, or, I don't know, you have some very particular requirements, the options are here to do a staggering number of individual poses. And of course, if you're doing conversion work, like different periods, these files will be helpful for that. One suggestion I had is that I have a stretch goal to add the, I think it's called the M1 steel helmet for the Americans, the same one they wore in World War II. If you used an M1 helmet with a tunic instead of the body armor, and perhaps got rid of the Alice webbing, you could export Argentinian troops with the American assets. Oh, and also you've already got the SLR, which is basically a FAL, isn't it? So the RGs had that. So if you exported Argentinians in that configuration, and you did your Brits with berets, you could do the Falklands. If that turns out to be something a lot of people are pushing for, I might put that in. I might put in some British Falklands assets on my Patreon poll. Bergens, stuff like that, looking like they're hiking over to Goose Green or whatever. I don't know so much about that war. But yeah, that's been me talking for 16 minutes. Thank you very much if you stayed this long. Battleground 1983 NATO Forces launches on February 1st, if I'm doing my job right. And yeah, would be lovely if you could support it, please. If you weren't aware of what the Blender files, this is what they are. I have plenty of videos elsewhere on the channel about exporting models, but that's basically what you do. You choose your model you like, you press A, you click File, Export, STL, and then make sure you got the scaling right on the next screen, which I can't show you because my recording software only shows one window at a time, but on the next screen you have some scaling options. But make sure you repair your STL after you export it. Don't try put it straight in your slicer. To do that, you can use a program called 3D Builder. It's a Microsoft program. It's free of charge and found on the Windows Store. But I have covered that so many times, you can find it elsewhere on the channel if that's what you're interested in. Anyway, have a lovely day. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you're excited for these NATO models, warts and all, which all the warts I hope will be gone by the time we launch. See you, and thanks again. Bye.